In the world of Under the Dome, we've got no internet, no mobile signals, and barely any radio communications. How would you guys cope if that were the case in real life?
I just wouldn't. I couldn't.
I feel like if I'd grown up without those things, then it wouldn't be any different. But having those things and then taking them away, I would act the same way as Ken's. I don't know what I would do. I'd freak out.
I suppose is where you see the generational divide, because I have fantasies all the time about the internet going out and going back to a time when things were simpler and slower. I'm sure in reality I would probably have a nervous breakdown, but there's something quite wonderful about thinking about going back to the time when we actually could sit at a dining table and have a dinner without someone picking up their phone and texting in the middle of it.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So I've had that
It's
fantasy.
kind of been like that here because being from the U.S., our phones don't work over here unless you get like a special plan.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard to get them to work. You have to be under Wi-Fi, all this stuff. So it's kind of been like that, I guess. At first it was crazy, but I actually don't mind it.
Yeah,
as
being
much as I
disconnected
dramatized it.
being disconnected is totally great sometimes.
One of our showrunners, Jack Bender, who also did Lost, was very open to us being able to completely create our characters and make them our own, as well as having his input and Stephen King's input. But I think we were able to make, or at least I was able to make Nori a lot like myself in some ways. And in other ways, she's a little bit more crazy than me. But for the most part, yes, definitely. I feel like I got to create her, which was very cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like Joe as a character is really, really intelligent. And by all means, I don't think that I'm like crazy intelligent, but I really value like learning and stuff. And I actually feel like I learned a lot from my character while I was shooting even. So developing him and working with Jack Bender and all of the other showrunners and the other cast members as well was really great in developing, my character and everyone else's. So.
It was kind of interesting for me and for Aisha because our characters were not in the book. So I've actually worked on a couple of other Stephen King projects before, and I've always really loved the opportunity to turn to the book and really find such great character detail. I think that's one of the things that I love so much about his writing. So honestly, I mean, it was wonderful in some ways to make it up, but I remember running into him when we were rehearsing and to Mr. King, and I was actually in the gym on the treadmill, and he came in, and he kind of wandered in and was like, do they have headphones in here? And I was like, what do I do? Like, he's in a Twilight t-shirt and shorts, and he's about to run, and it's 8:00 in the morning, and do I ask him anything? And then I eventually introduced myself, and I was like, I've worked on your stuff before, Salem's Lot, da-da-da-da. I was like, what do you think about Alice? And he's like, hey, man, they created it. It's a bit different, so ask the showrunners. So it's always great to have that flexibility, but I love his writing so much and how specific he is with characters that I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of that from him.
This is the first time I'd ever been to like a Comic-Con event, a signing or anything, and so this was so fun for me. Like, I just had a blast, just meeting everyone and just getting to talk to them and learning which shows that the fans like, whether it's Under the Dome or stuff that you worked on in the past. Like, finding out what they enjoyed and why is really cool too. So.
I love it. My sister's actually played Sophia on The Walking Dead, so I've been to many, many Comic-Cons and different events like this. But it's so cool to see what they appreciate about the show. They appreciate different things, different characters. It's good to see that they're as excited as we are. So that's very humbling and sweet.
It's always, when you're working on television or in film, you don't have that connection of having the opportunity to really talk to the fans and find out specifically what performances meant something to someone and what they're enjoying about the show. You're in such a vacuum in that regard. So yeah, it's really fun to meet people and see, that your work has meant something to them.
Twitter has been cool. We have live tweeted every episode in the U.S.
Yeah, that was fun.
And so people are sitting there watching the show with you, essentially. And so you get their instant reaction, which is something that I think it's fairly new to live tweet. But I enjoyed that because it's just you feel like you get to, I don't know, it's just kind of a bonding thing with the
I think
fans.
specifically about the live tweets, I think it's cool that when we did that, people would have there's a lot of, I mean, with a show like this, there's a lot of questions that go on, a lot of things that, you know, if you, I mean, even if you get up to go into the kitchen and make something, you're going to miss something in, you know, 30 seconds. So people hop on Twitter and ask us questions, and being able to be there and answer questions if we can is really cool, because, you know, if we can help them understand it more, then they'll like it more, hopefully.
The people inside the dome have had their own questions about what the dome is, where it's come from. Have you had your own theories about those questions as the series has gone along, and what are they?
I mean, I wouldn't really venture to share my theories. We've certainly all asked each other a lot of questions, and asked questions of the creators. But we've really, it's up to the audience, I think, to sort of decide what they think it is.
And the cool thing about the dome for us as the characters and the actors is we kind of got to act with it. So it was almost like another character. Like the dome was just like Nori or Joe or Alice. So it was kind of like, it was hard to theorize about, because it was almost like it was another person in the show. But we all had different questions. We all talked about it, but you'll find out more in the last 3 episodes, I think.
I definitely think that, you know, I have my own theory of like what the dome is and stuff, but like it changes for sure. Like, you know, when we were shooting, we would get the scripts for our next episode a couple days before we were set to shoot it. So I mean, like, we would learn new bits of information while we were shooting, and then therefore our thoughts would change based on what's going to happen. So I mean, I really, you know, season 2 will bring new things and new theories for all of us, I think.
We'd all text each other and be like, "Did you read it?"
Yeah.
Like,
What do you think? You know, what do we think's gonna happen next? You know, what's in the next one? Yeah, exactly.